And I've already gone through some of it. Parameters, and most of it is pretty familiar if you've ever used something like this before. Okay, so we've got URL parameters. Cool. Use a colon. That's I think Django does that too. Here you can do one or more. That's cool. Awesome. Optional route segments are experimental. Ooh, they have optional. Like I have never agreed with doing stuff like this. Like declare what your routes are. Like I could see this being a useful example, but it doesn't take much to write a function that can take different types of parameters here, overloads, and then just call that function differently based on what the actual URL is and define a route for each of these. That way, when you have people coming in trying to help you on your project, they don't have to read this. They get to see, okay, archive year month, archive year day. Oh, look, they all call the same function just with a different overload. Okay. Instead of like, what? What is this? Parentheses slash year parentheses slash day and month, like, so is that optional then? And is this what it would equal otherwise? I guess, yeah. Like that just it's not as clear to me. I've never agreed with that. So my wife's calling me here. Hopefully she can text me. Okay. Um so yeah. Names. Here we go. Let's you assign a name to a route. Okay, so I could name the route something. Oh yeah, Django does this too. So you can do like create a URL for that route with some certain parameters or whatever. Which, cool. Okay. Um, I've never seen a huge benefit in that. If someone knows, like, let me know because that's interesting. I know. I guess this isn't the only framework that does that either, but neat, I guess. Slim will let you assign conditions. So the year has to be okay. Must be a valid 4-digit year. Oh, so it has to be 19 or 20 and then 2 digits. So some rejects here. Interesting. Okay. I I would just put that inside the handler, just verify it. But I could see why you'd want to do that. Accept the same parameters and use the same conditions. You can define default application wide route conditions like this. Oh, so conditions on multiple routes. Cool, cool, cool. Conditions in okay, middleware. It's cool that they have middleware version 2. That's awesome. Is anything that returns true for so it just has to be something callable. So yeah. Uh, okay, so this looks normal. That's not middleware, right? Define a route. Okay, yeah, they're just talking about that again. In the example above, the first argument is the route pattern. The last is the callable to be invoked when the route matches. The route pattern must always be the first argument. The route callable must always be the last. So it seems like you can just put anything else in the middle, and you put them as string references to other functions you have. That's awesome. So you can put like authentication middleware. That's awesome. That's so cool. I thought I was gonna have to like bake that in myself. So that's super neat. Oh, look, authenticate for role. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Oh, and then you can call it as long as closure magic. So I'm not super familiar with PHP, but that doesn't look unfamiliar coming from JavaScript. Um, oh, return. Okay, cool. I didn't know you could even do that in PHP. Wow, you can return functions and use the role. Yeah, so this is like currying, which it is currying the right term? I think yeah. Currying's like when you have like a function that can be operated on in two parts, and you fulfill the first part at one point, the second part at another point, or do it like this with by when you return a function, have that function be already half curried with the role, which is cool. So now when you call this, it's going to call this function with the first part already fulfilled, and the second part will be called with any parameters you need in there, which is neat. And now it's going to tell us how to do arguments. So function, okay, the type there. Okay, so maybe you can do types in 5.4 if they're using types here. So this is a route. Oh, so you can't pass in custom arguments to middleware. The only way you can do that is here. Okay, and then you get one parameter, which is the route. It's the currently matched route. Okay, that's cool. So that makes sense. Let's check out groups here. Okay, groups. Oh, amazing. So I could do slash, like I have different entities, right? So I could do, or have different like uh, perspective, not perspectives, I don't know the word, different ways of thinking about those entities. So I have archives and I have management. So I might have like a slash archives, and inside of that, I would define a bunch of slash archives slash judge slash admin slash booths slash projects slash students, for different things. That's pretty neat. Now, what I want to do is define these functions somewhere else. I don't like putting the handlers in the same file as all the routes. I like to define the routes and then say what handler should handle that route and define the handler somewhere else. Otherwise, it becomes a huge mess of a route file like this where it'd be much better to rip this out, put it somewhere else, and then just reference it here. So I didn't even do it there, but that's what I'd like to do. But this will help, I guess, with groups. Okay, that's cool. Cool. Normally with like Express, you would create route files, and then you would use like app.use/API, and then you would call the library route file as what it should look at for that. Um, but that's cool. Okay, helpers. Several helper methods: halt, pass, redirect, stop. Okay, so these are like life cycle. You can do things. Um, so I could redirect. That's neat. Um, oh, I can set flash messages. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I'll probably read about this more later. They don't mention flash here, but they must mention that somewhere else. Somewhere they must have that. Okay. So object, this might throw an exception, does throw an exception, the code will run as expected. However, if no exception is shown, the call will throw. Oh, I see this. Oh, to talk about that. I was like, what helper is that? Okay, so if it doesn't throw an exception, it's going to redirect. Otherwise, you set a flash message and you redirect to error. That is amazing. Cool. I custom baked a way to do that. I have utils. Where is it? I have a redirect, and you can pass parameters. And if it's an error message, I set it, and then you go to exception, which is a page, and there you go. I didn't use actually flash messages here. I have flash messages elsewhere in the app though. But this is perfect. That is more familiar, and it's better than what I did, of course. So awesome. Okay, so what's this down here then? In some situations, it might be an external component call you can't control. For these instances, adjust that code slightly by moving. Okay, yeah, so if you redirect, you won't ever reach this, is what they're saying. Um, okay, cool. So, halt. Halt will immediately return an HTTP response with a given status and code. Okay, this seems like send. I guess it's for like errors and stuff. Haha, teapot. If you don't know that, look up the yeah, look up this right here. The HTTP code for teapot. That's awesome. I'll probably just throw that in my app too. That's funny. Um, okay. If you'd like to render a template with a list of error messages, you should use render instead. Yeah. So this is pretty much for like an API where you just want to send back a status code and message. Whereas this is for like server-side rendering. Okay. Pass. A route can tell the Slim application to continue to the next matching route with the pass. Oh, well, I don't. When would you want that? Like, you shouldn't let it match that URL. Oh, I guess so. If you have like a specific version for another, for something that might be generic elsewhere. Okay, so hello, Frank. You won't see this. When this method is invoked, the Slim application will immediately stop processing the current matching route and invoke the next matching route. I don't believe this. Why would you not see the echo? I mean, you've already echoed it. You can't take it back. If you put the app paths before echo, I could, you wouldn't see that. That is very interesting. I don't understand how you wouldn't see that. That might be something about PHP I don't understand. I thought if you echo something out, that sends a response. So okay, maybe not. We'll see. Probably down. Oh look, flash messages. Huh. That's where they talk about that. Cool. So we're in routing right now. They have request. Here's response. We'll probably learn more about the response later. All right. Redirect. Okay, it's easy to redirect the client to another URL with the redirect. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, the first argument is the URL. The second is the status code. Okay, so you could do a permanent redirect as well. Okay, yep, that's what they say right here. Okay. Yeah, it'll be sent. Okay, the HTTP response will be sent right away when you do that. The stop method will stop the application and send it as is. See, I believe this. You will see this. Stop. You will not see this. That makes sense. I don't get how this works up here, how you would not see that. I don't know. I'm going to definitely have to test that out. This makes sense, though. Stop just sends whatever. It's got its headers and everything right there. Maybe echoing just builds the response, and you can echo like 3 things and it'll build the response, and it only gets sent when you send it. Not sure. I'm sure it'll tell us later. URL 4 lets you do. Oh, we already looked at that. That's one for the naming things. You can name routes and then create a URL for them. Rewriting. I suck with this stuff. This is very DevOpsy stuff to me, like making sure that everything will work. I actually do something very similar. I wouldn't be surprised if that's almost exactly what I do in my rewrite for my API. QSA. Yeah, no, that's the same thing. Index. I honestly can't even remember what these mean anymore. I had to read like htaccess docs to build this. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to try to understand all of this. If I have issues where I'm not able to reach the routes I want to, then I'll come and check this out and make sure I'm doing it right. And I know I do have Apache, not Nginx, although I would much prefer to work with Nginx. I mean, look at this. So much better than these freaking tags and like this ordering stuff. That was horrendous to try to logic my way through. This is so much easier. Okay, but I'm not good at most of this DevOpsy stuff. But moving on. Man, doing this, like if I were just reading through it, it'd probably be a little faster than this, but doing it like live is like taking me a lot longer than I thought it would. The rack protocol. Okay, gotta find out what the rack protocol is. Okay, Ruby Forge. Is that the Ruby language is where this originated, or is that just the name of some organization? I'm on Wi-Fi, right? Yep. Cool website, guys. Okay, when you instantiate a Slim application, it immediately inspects the server superglobal and derives a set of environment variables that dictate. Yep, that sounds pretty right. Environment, blah. When you instantiate a Slim application, they derive from there. Okay, so this is normal PHP stuff. They add their own stuff on top of it. Can store its own data in the environment. Prefix is Slim. Yeah. Okay. Neat. Here we go. Request. Okay. Has one request object. Yeah, because the entire server runs every time you send a request with PHP. It doesn't listen. Like you might think with like JavaScript where you're listening for asynchronous requests. PHP, the entire server instantiates itself and runs from top to bottom every time you send a request. And I think, based on looking through like the way Laravel and Lumen are implemented, I think there's ways to have that be avoided, but I doubt they do it here. So yeah, each Slim application has one request object. It's the one that got sent when you instantiated this entire server when you sent that request. The request object is an abstraction of the current HTTP request. Cool. So they like pull stuff off the HTTP request, add stuff to it for us, make it easier to use, basically wrap it in their own custom object. It allows you to easily interact with the Slim application's environment variables, includes the default. idempotent. I think that means independent or something. But basically, you can instantiate the request um, and like replace the default one probably without hurting the default one if you don't want to replace it. Yeah, I don't know why you'd create a custom request randomly. Um, yeah, I don't know. But obviously, you have the default request that's already instantiated for you. I don't know why you'd create one on the fly for some reason. Okay, so each request has a method. Yeah, we all know that. Is Ajax? My mind's blown. What is Ajax? Ajax sends a type of request, right? What's an Ajax type? Ajax request type? Yeah, Ajax is used. I guess it can just Ajax probably adds a header and they can tell if it's an Ajax request, and then you'd also have to figure out what type of request it was. That's weird. I don't know what the use case for that was. A Slim application will automatically parse all request headers. Yep. Okay. Uppercase, lowercase, mixed case. Yep, that makes sense. Cool, you can use whatever naming conventions you want. Okay, get body fetches the raw HTTP request body. Um, it's useful for Slim applications. Apostrophe S there, nice. Useful for Slim applications that consume JSON or XML requests. So yeah, we will be passing in JSON. So I'm glad that they give it to us in as close to JSON as they can with PHP. So that's awesome. It's probably like an associative array or something. Okay. An HTTP request may have associated variables, not to be confused with route variables. I think by that they mean route parameters. Get, post, or put variables sent with a current HTTP request are exposed via the request object. So these are query parameters. Okay. If you want to quickly fetch a request variable without considering its type, use the params method. Oh, and then if you want to only get it if it's a certain type of request, okay, see, that wording's confusing. I thought they meant the type of the query parameter, which doesn't make sense. It should always be a string. So you get access, you get a reference to the app's request, and you call the params method and ask for the param name. So if you did something like books slash, I guess you don't need the slash, year equals 2018, oops, 2018, you would pass in year here to get that parameter off that query parameter, which is different than a route parameter. A route parameter would be something like 2018 slash published. And 2018 would be defined in the route. The route file is something like year. And that's a route parameter. Or a query parameter would then be, let's say, limit equals 10. So I only want the first 10. And if we were doing that, we'd probably also pass along a page, and this is the second page maybe. So this'll get us numbers 11 through 20 right here for the book year published. Yeah. Hopefully that made sense, that little ramble. Okay, so if you just want to get all of them, all get query parameters, you can do this. So this is very useful information. I'm glad I found this. Cookies. I'll probably be using cookies for authentication. You know, JWT and all that. It's been a minute, but I'll figure it out. The root URI. I don't know why I would want this. Maybe if you're building a URL for some reason. Oh, if you need to get a resource. Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So they requested an image and you store images somewhere else on the same server, which honestly I don't think is too common, but you could get access to it here. Get resource URI. How is that? Oh, so they expect you to follow a particular directory naming convention if you're going to use that. Okay. Yeah, we probably won't be messing with that, but cool. The X requested with HTTP header. We won't be using this. We'll be using Axios, which probably uses Ajax under the hood and stuff, but or maybe it uses the JavaScript request under the hood. Interesting. I don't know why you need that. Lots of stuff I don't know. Slim applications request object provides several helper methods. Okay. Get content type. Get media type. Get media type parameters. Oh, okay. Interesting. Get content car set. Like you could just like get access to most of these with just like an associative array, right? Maybe not. Maybe they don't expose all that. You have to use their little helper functions. Port. Like none of this I would really care about. Like I've already done the URL matching. I'm not gonna keep track of IPs. I'm not gonna rate limit or anything. So yeah, I don't really care about any of this. If I was building like a really, really solid production level application, obviously some of it would be important. But I guess the one that would be important is content type. But it for me, it's pretty much always gonna be JSON. I'm gonna be sending JSON. Okay. Oh, Slim does not parse any other content type other than the standard form data because PHP does not support it. False. Why did they think that? If you attempt to post, you will not be able to access it. To solve this, you must parse or use some pre-built middleware. Oh, look, someone has a... That was probably them. They probably built their own middleware for it and then didn't put it in the core thing. I bet they don't do this anymore. Let's go see if this is a page for V4. Where's the request? Body. Yeah. Yeah, see? PHP does support it. They didn't know. Not their fault. I mean, it's fine. We're not angry. We'll use some middleware to get the data every time. Cool, cool, cool. All right. The response, a status, some headers, and a body. Makes sense. One response object. It's an idempotent. Should probably Google that. What the hell does that even mean? Idempotent. Mathematical property? I'm more confused. Okay, that was not helpful. The response object is an abstraction again. Yeah, without affecting. Okay, cool. So you can create another response without sending that response. Maybe you want to, I don't know. Anyways, provide helper methods. Yeah, let's just go ahead and learn some more. So status. You can set the status. You can get the status. Makes sense. Is there any useful information here I need? If you intend to return that does not have... Okay, so the default is 200 okay. Okay. Headers. You set the content type. We'll need to be doing that. I should probably read all this. List of keys and values, we know that. The response object, so public property headers. Yeah, okay. You can also fetch headers. Okay, if the header null is returned, you may specify header names with upper lower mixed case. Cool. Okay. The client will have a body. The HTTP body is the actual content delivered. You can use a Slim application response object to set the HTTP response's body. Yeah. So this overwrites and this appends, and they called it set body and write. I might have called it set and add, but this is kind of weird anyways, I feel like. When you override or append, the response object will automatically set the content length header. Okay. You can fetch the response object body like this. I'm glad they thought of that because I would not have. I don't know if that would have affected anything. I probably would have taken forever to find it. Okay, I can get the body if I want it. Okay, whenever you echo content inside a route's callback function, the echoed content is captured in an output buffer and appended to the response body before the HTTP response is returned to the client. So that is how they do this pass thing. Okay. They redirect the echo to an output buffer that they then put together at the very end. Cool, 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 cool. I can set some cookies, which I'll need to do for authentication. Finalize. Finalize returns a numeric array. So you set the status, you write, you set some headers, and then you finalize, which is like send, I guess. Why do they have that? What is that? The header, the body is a string. Were you to create a new response object, you could call to reduce, okay, redirect. Responses object redirect will set the response. Yeah, we already looked at that. Status introspection. So this is like, is not found as client errors. Redirection is successful. Is okay. Okay, cool. Wow, that was it. That was it for the response. I thought we would learn some more stuff there. Views we don't care about. Caching, not going to do. Middleware, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Oh, can I write a middleware class with a call method? Do I need to? It's probably important. I'll read it later. Hooks. Hooks is a moment in the application cycle with a priority list of callables assigned to the hook will be called. Okay, so it's lifecycle methods. How to use callables assigned to the hook. Yeah, so what are some of their hook names? Before router. Okay, so this is like middleware for everything. If you need to do something every time, you would use this. Maybe that's not what you're supposed to do, but I think that is what I do if I needed to. Flash messages. If you don't know what a flash message is, it sets a temporary message that after displayed is unset. Do you have to use their templates to use this? Or can you get access to it? I guess you'd have to just send it along if you wanted to get access to it in a RESTful scenario, which doesn't make as much sense, so we might not even do that. Oh, you could persist them if you wanted. Okay, what are we at now? Sessions, logging, error handling, dependency injection. That would be a bit overkill. Okay. Sorry, I wasn't really reading anything. I was skimming through. What did I want to go back to? Maybe middleware? I don't know. I felt like the response should have told us more. Like, how do I actually send something? Like, I have to use finalize, or just like when all the handlers have done being called, it is done and it sends a response. I think it was kind of talking about that here. A version of the rack protocol. Okay, and we couldn't find what the rack protocol was based on their link. Okay, rack response. The rack server object returns a response which contains 3 parts. Okay, let's just read this. As a result of implementing the rack protocol, Slim applications can have middleware that may inspect, analyze, and modify application environment requests and response before and after the application is invoked. Think of the Slim application as the core of an onion. Each layer is middleware. When you invoke the Slim application run method, the outermost middleware layer is invoked first. When ready, that middleware layer is responsible for optionally invoking the next middleware that it surrounds. This process steps deeper until the core Slim application is invoked. The stepper process is possible because each middleware layer and the Slim application itself all implement a public call method. When you add new middleware to a Slim application, the added middleware will become a new outer layer and surround the previous outer middleware layer or the Slim application itself. The purpose of middleware is to inspect. Okay, so create a class for middleware, call function, you get the app, you get the environment, the request, and the response. And then you also have access to the next. So optionally calling it. Okay, so this seems different than this middleware for routing. So this middleware here, you just reference something, and they probably wrap this up in a call function, which then calls next unconditionally. which this is probably what we'll use because we need to call next, and we can always use like their helpers like stop in here. If like for authentication, if you're not authenticated, we can just use stop and send where's their okay, so oh wait, maybe not stop, maybe halt. Yeah, yeah, halt is what we would use. Immediately returns this method. And if that doesn't work, if that doesn't halt the process inside of a middleware, then we will use their middleware down here, which would be to make a class, do this stuff, and then how do I use it? Yeah, how do I add it to a route? Some applications add instance method is to add a new middleware. Also, can I add this to a specific route? No, this is application-wide middleware. Okay, okay. Okay, so yeah, what we'll want to do is middleware per route because not everything needs to be authenticated. You don't need to be authenticated to publicly register as a judge, for example. So not everything will be authenticated. But wow, that was a lot of reading. Probably a mumble jumble mess. I'll probably put this in its own video for people to like optionally watch because I doubt everyone would want to watch someone scroll through docs. It's not the most exciting thing in the world.